again, here's what we know at this point. A report of shots fired less than an hour ago at Building 2, which is the operations building. They evacuated much of the area, but at this point, we don't know the numbers of people injured. Only our eyewitness account from 10 on Your Side's Tamara Scott that she saw 4 people being served at this point, or being worked on, I should say. And that is all we know. Police did tweet a short time ago that somebody was in custody. And there you get a look at the Nightingale chopper being flown and landing at this point. So they're coming down and possibly looking for other casualties, it appears. Now we're going to go to Stephanie Harris, who is standing by in our newsroom. Stephanie, do you have more information for us?
Okay, Tom, so if people are just joining us right now, we want to let them know what exactly is happening here. So police got a call around 4:30 this afternoon of shots fired at Building 2, which is the public utilities building out there at the Virginia Beach Municipal Center. Of course, they then realized that in fact there was an active shooter situation happening. We have reports of multiple injuries coming from police. We do not know the extent of the injuries right now, but as we just saw moments ago, Nightingale was flying above. Of course, Nightingale is a helicopter that takes severely injured people, typically to hospitals. Centera Norfolk General is, of course, a level 1 trauma center in our area. So in our newsroom, we've been making those phone calls to see what's happening, if they're preparing for injured to come in there. A spokesperson for Centera tells us he's not heard anything yet, but of course, they are waiting. That was a few minutes ago. That may be updated pretty soon. Police are also telling us that there was believed to be one shooter, and they do have one person in custody right now. They're also asking people to stay away from that municipal center complex. There are 30 buildings in that municipal center complex. If you're not familiar with it, it houses the courthouse, the school district offices, it has the police headquarters, as well as things like public utilities out there. So, of course, there could be thousands of people out there. This was about 4:30 again on a Friday, so we would expect a lot of people to be getting ready to leave at that time.
Stephanie, thank you for that summary. I guess it is important that we do watch how much information that we impart to the public at this point, because we simply just don't have the information yet. This is still all unfolding at the Virginia Beach Municipal Complex. You're getting a look at Nightingale, which has just landed there on the grounds to possibly go to either Centera Norfolk or Centera Virginia Beach General Hospital. Let's go back to Tamara Scott now, who is on the ground, as we look at these pictures from Chopper 10 showing the stretcher now moving off to the parking lot near where this incident happened. Tamara, do you have anything for us?
Well, this is still a very active scene. It has been. I just kind of want to take you guys through a little bit from the beginning of what we know. About an hour ago, we actually were on the other side of the municipal center for another story, and then we were called over here. When we got over here, we found a very active scene and many people rushing out of the building. We talked with one gentleman who was inside Building 2 at the time, and he told us that he was inside and he heard what sounded like gunshots, and then he and some other peers went and investigated and found a woman on the stairs with some injuries. They described her as being covered in blood. When they went to go see what had happened, that's when they were told to get out and that there was an active shooter. Since then, we've seen many police officers surrounding the yard around Building 2, SWAT officials coming in and out. We've also seen a few victims coming from inside the building. I can tell you what I saw. I saw one person on the back of a police car being pushed over to the ambulance and the medical center to get him some help and some relief. And I've seen at least 3 other people in a similar situation being pushed out by either a gurney or on the back of a vehicle. When we talked with that one gentleman, he seems very shaken up, trying to understand what was going on. He didn't know anything else about what was going throughout the building, only in the one part that he was in. But since then, we have seen officers removing people from the building, getting them away from the scene, and they were huddled behind in the back of the parking lot, but they have since pushed everyone back.
We're out here, and you can definitely tell just the mood here that there's something catastrophic that happened. Again, as you were saying, it all centered around the Public Works building, which is right next to City Hall. If anybody's ever been to City Council chambers, you've obviously seen it on our TV sometimes. That's where that is, pretty much in the middle of the complex, and we're a great deals away. We're on Princess Anne Road right at James Madison. That is not even in the line of sight of that building. That's how large this perimeter is, as there is such a large large response of police and fire trucks. I was on the other end of the complex by the post office, not far from where school administration is, when employees were coming out of the Public Works building, and there was hysteria. Tears from almost everyone that passed by, everybody embracing each other, some people not even being able to talk. Several have told me they were just sitting at their desks. Someone said the third floor. That may be not necessarily where the shots were fired, but they said they were on the third floor, and all of a sudden just gunshots could be heard, and they just left everything at their desk and fled. And then one gentleman told me that, you know, he's okay, but there was someone he saw in the stairwell that was hurting bad, and we already know that there's some injuries. We've been told from the city manager and police that there are multiple injuries. We are awaiting a briefing from the chief of police. He is en route to this location. We were just told by another law enforcement officer to tell us the details of what happened here this afternoon, a very bad thing that happened. We talked to one woman who was not in the building where this happened, but was in the courthouse, which is not far from the building 2. She works there and said she heard gunshots, and here's a little bit of the interview we did with her a short time ago.
I work inside the courthouse. I'm kind of new here, so I wasn't near any windows or anything, but we did have the officers to come in and let us know to stay inside of the building.
You're shaking right now. Talk about the emotion you're going through.
I'm just going through a lot of emotion because it's way too much killing going on, and I'm just glad that they alerted us in enough time so we wouldn't be outside when everything was occurring. So I'm happy about that, but I'm still shaken because it's just entirely too much killing going on.
Did you hear anything, or was it just the alert from police?
We heard shooting. We heard shooting, but we didn't think it was that close, like in proximity of the building. So I just thank God that they were able to alert us in time, because if it had been 10 minutes more, we all would have been outside. So that's what I'm grateful for today.
Ma'am, we're live right now on 13 News Now. Can you just reiterate for our viewers at home, where were you? What did you see? What did you hear?
I was inside of my office.
What building is that?
We heard shooting, building 10A. We heard shooting, but we didn't think it was actually at the courthouse because it was kind of muffled, so we weren't sure that it was at the courthouse. But we thank goodness that the police acted fast and were right there for us to let us know what was occurring.
What did they tell you when I see you and your colleagues are leaving now? Was there any information given, or was it just an all clear? What happened?
They told us all clear, you're perfectly safe to leave. The shooter has been apprehended. I'm sure they couldn't give us any more than that, but that was enough to make me feel safe enough to come outside and to know that God was with us and is with us.
When you heard the shooting, what did you do when you heard the shooting?
I just went in and asked my coworkers, what's going on? Has this ever happened before? And they just said, we're being told to stay in the building.
Do you know anybody in the Public Works building?
No, I do not.
Did you get under your desk, or you just stayed at your desk? How did you handle it?
We stayed at our desk because we work in cubicles, so we're not by any windows or anything. But the police were still present so that we could see that we were safe by them.
Yes, guys, we're actually talking to a courthouse employee right now. She's just kind of telling us about the situation. So kind of how are you feeling right now after now being released after finding out there's an active shooter?
I'm feeling shaken and relieved at the same time.
All right, back out here live at Princess Anne Road and James Madison outside the Virginia Beach Municipal Complex. As we were saying, the scene is not as active as it once was. We've started to see cars now again coming through. It appears the perimeter has been shrunk some, but obviously the investigation going to be going on for a while. I'm here right now with my colleague, Andy Fox. He obviously has covered Virginia Beach for a long time. And Andy, have you ever seen anything like this?
Never. You know, I've always said we've been blessed so far not to have active shooter situations like this. I was listening to you talking about employees who were having to step over their fellow employees to get out. And I was at a high school graduation, and you were talking about how people should never have to, be experiencing something like this. And I left the graduation quickly. I first heard about this from a Chesapeake source, actually, who had someone in Chesapeake City government who heard what was going on, left immediately. I then was able to contact the city manager, Dave Hansen, who confirmed that this was a really bad situation, that it was in Building 2, that it was public utilities, and that he was getting more information was coming out. And I have another City Hall source who said that there are several fatalities that we are dealing with. I was given a number, but I don't think that we should really put that out there. We are going to have a news conference, as you said, with Police Chief Cervera, who is going to come in and kind of give us the details on what we're dealing with. I have also been told that who might be responsible for this, but we are going to hold off on that as well, too. We are well aware that the person who might be responsible for this, and I will only say that the victims are probably familiar with this person.
So right now we haven't been seeing a whole lot of activity. We're not sure if there are going to be any more victims taken here, but and we were not able to confirm whether that Virginia Beach police officer that was shot but was saved by his bulletproof vest is here, or if he's the one at Norfolk General. He or she is the one at the Norfolk General Hospital. Again, we do know that the suspect is currently dead. Right now, pretty quiet scene. One of the ambulances did just come back. We did see at one point one of the victims taken in on a gurney, but that's been the only kind of activity, and that was maybe an hour or so ago. Our hearts are clearly with the families here. Now, Centerra officials did say that there was a lockdown put on the hospital for about 30 minutes at the emergency department entrance. They said that that is standard protocol for a situation like this when there is a mass casualty incident. So again, they haven't been able to update us on any specifics regarding the victims' injuries, who they are, but again, like one of the city officials said, the most devastating day in the history of Virginia Beach. Our hearts are with the families that are probably here at the hospital right now, praying for the best for everybody involved. Back to you.
Aisha, absolutely. We are all thinking of those families and everybody who has been affected by this. Of course, those numbers can change. So right now we are hearing 5 people at Beach General, 1 person at Norfolk Centerra General.
And 12 people dead from this afternoon. We'll go back to Andy Fox now, who did talk to Governor Ralph Northam a short time ago. Andy, what did the governor tell you?
Well, we have sent that back, and we're efforting that so everyone can see it. It was a short interview. He just showed up got out, he has a lot of staffers with him, Secret Service. They came in here. He came in here from Richmond, and he is now going into the command center here to get an update on what has happened. And I was asking him some of the details. I said, Governor, when you hear that 11 victims are dead, he just shook his head. He used the word horrific 3 times. It's horrific. It's horrific. It's horrific. So we now have the interview that I did with Governor Ralph Northam, and we are now going to look at that. And I've known the governor a long time. Very emotional when he was talking to us. Governor Northam, what would you like to say on this day?
It's a horrific day for Virginia, and we're here to monitor the law enforcement, first responders. But I'm going to go in here and be briefed and be brought up to date, and we'll have further comments a little bit later. Thank you, Andy.
Governor, not about any words just to the community? The community is shaken right now.
This is just a horrific day, and a lot of people are on the scene here, and just our thoughts are for these victims and their families, and we're working with our law enforcement, our first responders, our folks at the hospital, and just making sure that we take care of everybody right now. But we're going to be briefed here, and I'll have some further comments in a little while later in the evening.
They say that 11 are dead when you hear that.
Yes, it's just a horrific day, Andy.
Thank you.
Just a horrific dead, just horrific about those that are dead. 11, what he is hearing in there is that there are 11 victims who are dead, that 6 were transported to an area hospital. The shooter is dead as well. One of those shot is a Virginia Beach police officer, one of the injured, and he was saved by his vest. He is going to hear how quickly first responders showed up. He is going to hear about how the families are being taken care of up at a assistance center up off Nimmo Parkway, Princess Anne Middle School. And they are also going to be hearing about what the process is to identify the victims and where we go from here. But everyone is certainly saying right now that this is the worst thing that we have ever seen in Hampton Roads history. And of course, the police chief, Jim Cervera, very emotional when he was giving us the details. But we just got the governor as he was going in, and he spent some time just telling us 3 times how horrific this whole thing is. Guys, back to you.